Okay, so it's filming now.
Okay. All right. So what we're talking about is the information system. So the starting point we talked about yesterday, to manage you need information. If I say for you as an operations manager, you don't know who your clients are, you don't know how many clients you have, you don't know how much money you've given out, you don't know how much people are paying back, you don't know what your PAR is, you would say you are crazy. We can't work. Okay. So for social performance, it's the same thing. You need to have some information. So we're talking about information about the clients. And there's two types of information. There's information that you know at the beginning. There's the input, what goes into the client, and then there's the output, what comes out.
After many years.
No. Forget about many years. Okay, for operations, if I say to you as a manager, I will tell you your PAR in 2 years' time, or I will tell you your portfolio outstanding in 2 years. You can't use that. So same for social performance. We talked about the long-term outcomes, but we want to focus on the things you do day to day and how you manage that. So the first information is the profile. So who is your client? Understanding, so you can segment, so you can really understand who your client is. And we talked about getting that profile information from the PPI, which will tell you the poverty level of those clients. There's lots of other information that you have, but the only information you capture is urban, rural, men, women. So there's a question, is there other information you need for the profile for management? So at the moment, most of that isn't captured. The next set of information is the transactions. Is what do you do? What does that client experience from Hamlet? The loans, the savings, the meetings, the trainings, everything, all of the transactions. You have a lot of that in the MIS. Some things you don't. So knowing if somebody's been to a meeting or not, you don't know. But all of these transactions affect the outcomes. So actually it may be, for example, that the clients who come every month to the meetings have better outcomes than those who just come at the beginning and at the end. We don't know. So, but anyway, if you think about the other transactions, is the business, the cycle they're in. So then the result is, first of all, the client's experience. What do they feel about, what did they experience? Did they experience good service? Did they get the products they wanted? Were they happy with it? Did they have a good relationship with the credit officer? Did they have a good relationship with other clients? So, and the information you collect now is your satisfaction, your exit surveys, your exit rate. What you don't do now, you don't segment the exit rate by the profile of all the transactions. So what I'm saying here is, when you start connecting this information together, that's when it becomes useful for management. So knowing people are leaving, yes, that's important. Knowing who leaves. Is it because do poorer people leave more than others? Do people with many income sources leave less than with less income sources? Is it certain types of business or certain economic activity? Is there any relation with savings? Is it that people with large savings balances are less likely to exit? So you can analyse the experience in relation to the transactions and in relation to the profile, and that's the sort of segmentation you can do. Then the final type of client information is the outcome. So they experience this, but in terms of the three areas that we talked about, was the investment successful? Did the business improve? Did the agriculture improve? In terms of managing risk, were they better? If something happened, were they able to cope with it? If they experienced illness, did they manage to pay for it? In terms of the smoothing, the day-to-day financial needs, were they better able to manage their money? Were they able to meet those needs? And again, knowing that helps you, again, knowing that in relation to the transactions, in relation to the profile, can help you improve your services, because you know some clients, the businesses failed. Who failed? Was it just random? Or was it clients that you gave very large loans to, their businesses failed? Or was it clients that you gave very small loans to that were too small for the business? Then you can say, well, maybe our loan appraisal system is not working well. Or is it that something to do with who the clients are, that certain characteristics of the clients that led to different outcomes? So this is all about client feedback. So this morning we were talking about client feedback. But now we're trying to say, how do you develop an information system that gives you the right client information to be able to analyze what is happening, so that you can improve your products and services, your delivery channels, to get a better experience and to get better outcomes. So at the moment you're getting information on the experience, but you don't have information about the outcomes. So for example, we talked this morning about just adding some simple questions to the client satisfaction, which ask, for example, what was your experience? Did your business do well? What was the experience of the investment? Yet, why did it do well? Why didn't it do well? Did you experience an emergency? If yes, how did you cope with it? Understanding how clients cope with the emergency means you can think about your products and services and say, yes, they're using these services to cope with the emergency, or they went to hospital, they had savings in their account, but they didn't use the savings to pay for the hospital. Why didn't they do that? What's wrong with that? Is there something about our savings product that could be improved to be better for that purpose? So when we talk about social performance management, we're really talking about using this information to improve and to manage. Okay, we can also talk about this next level, which is the impact or the longer term things. But as I said yesterday, that's nice to know, but it's not really essential for management. So the other thing we talked about this morning was, what is your current contact with your clients? So if we say this is the information you need to have about your clients, where do you get that information? So all of these things in blue are the operations. We're just talking about solidarity credit, but it's the contact that operations has with the client. Group formation, loan assessment, the CO visits, disbursement meeting, monthly repayment meetings, where it's mostly group members, but some other clients. Follow-up for the fund use after 3 months. The meeting 3 weeks before the end of the cycle, the end of cycle meeting. So there's lots of times that you meet with your clients. So each one of those is an opportunity to collect information if you want to. Then you have your internal audit visits, your VM spot checks, head of department visits, exit and satisfaction surveys, ad hoc projects. So what we're discussing now is we're having a discussion about PPI, but we're not just talking about PPI. We're talking about where does all this information fit in? And the big question really is, do you need to do an extra survey, or is it possible to use this existing system to collect the information? And my experience is always it's much better to use the existing system if possible, because that system is working. This is additional cost. Okay, so currently you have a proposal to have a survey of 20,000 clients. Okay, we asked about the exits, the satisfaction survey. That's 700 clients. Okay, so this is 30 times bigger. This is costing $5,000 to $6,000. Maybe it's not 30 times more, maybe 20 times more, but we're still talking about $100,000. So that's the discussion we'd like to have is, firstly, what information are we going to collect where? And then what are the options? Do we go for the survey or do we go for something different? So that's just, maybe that's, we can discuss it now if you like, or you can come back this afternoon and hear what we decide.